So, welcome you all in the series of lectures uh, for the topic network theory. And today we will initiate our discussions over the another fundamental aspects of the network theory, that is called the network synthesis. As I have been told you in the very beginning of the series of this lecture, that the fundamental difference between the network analysis and network synthesis is that whenever your objective is to analyze the response or the behavior, or in other words the characteristic of the given network or of assigned network or of the known network based on the type of input is supposed to feed to that particular network. That means there is a white box. So the given circuit, electrical circuit or the electronic circuit within the box is known to you. And as far as the input is concerned, the type of input is concerned. So whether you are providing a sinusoidal input, okay, whether the source is being energized is the type of sinusoidal input, whether it is a non-sinusoidal input, okay, or even if it is a non-sinusoidal input, so whether it is a step input or whether it is a delta input, whether it is a ramp input, okay, whether the type of source is a AC source or the DC source. Based on this, the response of the circuit, response of the same circuit will always change, okay, is always going to, okay, change, that you know, right? So if I will feed the type of input, so obviously the response will be different. But whether this whole combination of the input and the circuit is nothing but it is a transfer function. In other words, I will say transfer function, that is the ratio of output upon input. So here my objective is to find a relevant or a fruitful output or response from that particular circuit depending on the type of input. So such analysis is carried out under the umbrella we call network analysis. Whereas what we do in case of network synthesis, as with the term is comes appearing here, synthesize. So synthesize, that means the designing. Okay. So to fulfill your desired requirement. Now what is desired requirement? I have a some expectation. So I have a some kind of predefined output, or I have a some kind of expectation from the output. Understood? So that means, so the type of response is known to you, is in your good book, or in advance it is known to you. The type of input is also known to you. So the type of input you are supposed to feed to the network is known. The kind of response you are expecting from the network is also known. And to fulfill these, to connect these 2 points, you are required to now design a required circuit, electrical or electronic circuit. Okay. This exercise comes under the banner of network synthesis. So that is the fundamental difference between these two. I'm pretty sure that the idea between the analysis and synthesis would have been very well clear to you. Okay. So let us continue our discussion for the next 5 lectures under the head of module number 4 as per our syllabus, related to the different topics of the network synthesis. And during this particular discussions, as per the module number 4 is concerned, is appearing on this particular slide, we will be primarily brief over the requirement of Hurwitz polynomial, though it is in detail as far as your syllabus is concerned, but I know that these things you have been already come across. We have been discussed under the head of network function in briefly. So I would suggest you that you go through this particular topic, okay, the requirement of the Hurwitz polynomials, the criteria of Hurwitz polynomial in detail. If you are referring the network analysis book written by the Amy Van Valkenburg, that is the chapter number 3 under the head of network function, or you can use any relevant book, okay, that I will brief you in the following slides. As far as this module number 4 is concerned, we will primarily focus on the realization of the Hurwitz property, that I will discuss very brief as far as my lecture series is concerned. Okay, that is the positive real function or the positive realness. Okay, properties of the positive real function. That's why I suggest you that you go through under the head of these fundamental topics, okay, in detail. So these things are given in your book. Now my objective here is to give more stress over the design aspects. Okay, so the synthesis of the RL, RC and LC driving point functions, these are nothing but these are the different type of linear filters. It is a reactive type, or you can say that the emittance function, LC emittance function, or the involvement of some kind of resistive network, RC type or RL type. So we will discuss both RL type impedance function and its a complementary or dual network, that is RC type admittance function, or vice versa, that is the RC type impedance function and RL type admittance function, and the type of methods to design these required synthesis synthesization of the network is concerned. Okay, so because we are restricting to the combination of the primarily the first order, so you can say that the linear network as well. Okay, as far as the synthesis objective is concerned, and for this purpose we are going to primarily use two fundamental techniques, forms of techniques, that is the Foster form introduced by the Foster, and then the Core form, that is the introduced by the Core at the later stage. Both have the two forms. Okay, and that is two forms of the method, a single method, okay, is used to basically design the dual of the both dual of a given network. Okay, so that we will discuss one by one. As far as the textbook or the reference books are concerned, as you can notice that you can refer the one of the best book in this regard is Network Analysis and Synthesis, that is by the Franklin Co, John Wiley. Okay, and other than this you can also refer, I guess, the Circuit Theory by the A Chakravarti. Okay, so and the one more book, that is the Circuits and Network by the Sukija and Nagasekar by the Oxford University Press. So either of the three, probably you can refer any one book. Okay, again I am repeating that as far as the Chakravarti is concerned, there is some typo mistake or printing mistake, so please be careful about that, and I hope that this problem would have been rectified in the latest editions you will come across. Okay. Other than this, obviously you have some beautiful contents. Worth content is available through NPTEL and MIT Open Courseware, that you can also refer. Okay. So here our objective is primarily, after the completion of this particular module, okay, I'm expecting that you will learn the concepts and the primary design aspects, fundamental design aspects of the synthesizing of the electron. So here you can see, very first we are going to start with the basic properties of the network synthesis techniques. And when we talk about the basic properties of network synthesis technique, that means how to lay the foundation of a foundation of synthesization of a electrical network or electronic network, depending on the requirement of the responses, the kind of responses we are expecting. So nevertheless, we will first talk about the transfer function. Like in this particular slide, we defined the transfer function h of s, which is again the ratio of some numerator by denominators. Okay, so the numerator polynomial is going to define as the component of p, and the denominator polynomial is defined as the component of q. So let us assume that the numerator polynomial is an order of n order of polynomials, whereas the denominator function is, or polynomial you can say, is a order of m order of a function or polynomials. Okay. Now when we talk about the Routh-Hurwitz polynomial, or in short we say that Hurwitz polynomials, okay, as you can see over here, okay, the Hurwitz polynomials are concerned over here. So the exact definition of the Hurwitz polynomial is actually drawn as the over the two mathematicians over to define a positive real function of any n order polynomials, that is the Routh-Hurwitz polynomials. I'm going to mention your name here. Okay. So Routh-Hurwitz polynomials, or in other words, you can say in short, it is also recognized as RH polynomials. Okay, because Hurwitz has actually it was the polynomial function was initially introduced, and its criteria to have a stable function. When we say functions, that means it is very well understood, or it is to be noted that there is no use of defining a polynomial which is unstable in nature. So remember that this analysis you are still pursuing over a particular domain, and it talks about the stability or instability of the network. Okay, with the help of Routh-Hurwitz polynomial, the limitation of the polynomial is that you cannot judge the degree of stability or the degree of instability with the help of Routh-Hurwitz polynomial, or in short, Hurwitz polynomial. Okay, which actually Hurwitz has later on edited it. It tries to remove the drawbacks of the uh, Routh polynomials. So, in extension to that, it is known as Routh-Hurwitz polynomial, or in short, Hurwitz polynomials. And in that case, remember, like as this function is concerned h of s, it defines basically nothing but it's a open loop function. Okay, and whereas the characteristic equation is always a part of a closed loop function, okay? Closed loop transfer function of the system. Okay, now in that case, it states that as far as that Hurwitz polynomial is concerned, if you are going to replace s is equal to j omega over here, okay, so in our statement, remember that s is the plane, and which I am here assuming that my s plane is a lossless plane. So your sigma component become 0. Am I right? So your sigma component becomes 0. Okay, by in this case, what you are assuming that this sigma component is equal to 0. So that means the resistance is 0, or the attenuation is 0. The resistive component is 0. Right? So in an ideal scenario, so that's why in this system it must be noticed that with the help of Routh-Hurwitz polynomial, you can only judge that whether the system is perfectly stable or not, it is asymptotically stable or not. If it is, even if it is moving towards the instability, then you cannot judge the degree of instability or the degree of stability with the help of Routh-Hurwitz polynomial. For that, you have to ultimately jump to the frequency response analysis, which I believe that you are going to pursue under the head of the control system in the advanced semesters. Okay. So let us see. So remember here one thing, that the next critical point is that the real part. Okay, so here RE stands for the real. So the real component of the Hurwitz polynomial should be always greater than or equal to 0 for all the values of omega. Right? For all the values of omega. So that means when you are going to draw the matrix of a Routh-Hurwitz polynomial, and when you will see the first component of that particular matrix, all should be of the positive numbers strictly. There should not be any negative number, because negative number is the indication of 180-degree phase reversal. Okay, and it jumps to the instability of the system. That means over the S plane, as we have discussed in the two-port analysis and the network function, one of the roots may fall in the right half of the S plane, which indicates the unstable system, which is the indication of an unstable system. So all the roots should be strictly lie over the unity circle, and that to be for the damping ratio, that is zeta, okay, should be between 0 and 1. So the value of zeta should be in such a manner, the root should be fall in a left half of the S plane within the unit circle in such a way that the damping ratio should be greater than or equal to 0, whereas it should be less than or equal to 1 in ideal scenario. practically there is a no exact equal scenario. So your zeta should be strictly greater than 0, okay, as much as away from the 0, and similarly it leads towards the 1. But remember, you cannot reach to 1 because 1 is the indication of the critical damping. Okay, that is something practically you cannot achieve. Right? Okay. So now let us the second mode. With this foundation, we are going to pinpoint the basic philosophy of the synthesis. So as far as the function you are going to realize is concerned, it is a combination of the RLC elements, and with this RLC element, you are going to define the transfer function of this Routh-Harvest polynomial. So from here onwards, we are assuming that our transfer function is a ratio of n order polynomials in the numerator and the m order polynomials in the denominator, for an example. If it is so, if the transfer function is defined in such a way as projected in equation number 2, okay, a naught s raised to n, that means the coefficient of the s raised to n component is a naught and the coefficient of the first component is an. You can write in other way also, a n s raised to n, then a n minus 1 s raised to n minus, so till a naught, it is up to you. Whereas then the B0, just remember, if you are going to remove the component of the highest order system, because it should be strictly 1 while you are going to apply the partial fraction. So therefore the ratio of A0 upon B0 is always representing a constant, that we have already discussed under the head of network function, okay, and the two-port analysis, right? So in this case, there are 4 methods by which you can realize this equation number 2, or the transfer function of the Routh-Harvest polynomial, to synthesize a network or to design a network. Number 1, removal of a pole at infinity, right? So removal of a pole at infinity. As you have been told you that as far as the signature of this unity circle is concerned over the S-plane, remember that any function is typically starts from the pole at the origin and it terminates at the 0 at infinity. So if this is so, then if during the design it appears that there is a pole at the infinity, then you must remove this particular pole. So our agenda of designing a stable system or a system, any transfer function, any system, okay, realization or design of a system which is designed or realized based on a transfer function, and that transfer function has some n number of zeros and m number of poles, I would say, for example. So out of those m number of poles, okay, not a single pole should exist at the infinity. If it is so, then you rearrange your transfer function in such a way that you should remove that particular pole from the infinity. Okay, I hope that this idea should be clear to you. Similarly, if there is a pole at the origin, okay, at s is equal to 0, so how to remove a pole at origin so that we can bring back the system into the stable form? Okay, we can realize a network in such a way that it should lead to a stable form. Okay. Third, the removal of a complex conjugate, or you can say that a complex imaginary poles. So that is a pair of poles. Okay, pair of a pole exists in the imaginary function. Okay, so there is a two group of poles. And then number 4, removal of a constant. There is a constant, and sometimes if it appears that we need to remove this to realize a stable transfer function to synthesize the network, that ultimately leads to design a synthesization stable or practically realizable network. Okay, in that case we also require to remove a constant. So there are 4 ways or 4 methods we are going to discuss. What happens, or in which circumstances we should remove a pole at infinity, if we remove a pole at origin, if remove a complex conjugate pole, okay, or complex imaginary pole, conjugate is the same thing, or removal of a constant. So let us discuss each method one by one. First is the removal of a pole at infinity. Let us see. So if you consider a transfer function where we assume that, as we have assumed in our polynomial equation, that there is an n order of a polynomial in the numerator which defines ultimately the number of roots of the numerator, that is called zeros, whereas m order of polynomials in the denominator function, which ultimately represents the number of poles in the characteristic equation or of the transfer function, is represents the number of roots of the denominators, right? If this difference is equal to 1, so your transfer function is leads in such a way that the difference between n minus m is equal to 1, okay, plus the a naught by b naught, as I have told you, is a constant. So you are getting that numerical constant or scaling constant, the scaling constant of s function divided by the numerator and denominator. That means what? If you are going to write down a transfer function z of s, it is equal to a naught by b naught into s plus 1. Okay, because that 1 is coming from the difference of the numerator and denominator. Remember it. So ultimately, you are getting a transfer function 1 plus a naught by b naught of s. Okay. So this order of 1 is segregating the second component. So the entire transfer function z of s is segregated in two parts, that is z1 of s plus z2 of s, whereas z1 of s is represented by a naught by b naught into s plus the remaining component which leads the difference of numerator and denominator order is equal to 1, that is n minus 1 multiplied by z of s. Okay. So that's the second component, we will say that it is going to segregate it at z2 s. Now you know, if there is a tau impedance function and if they are connected in cascade, okay, or they are connected in series, so impedance is additive in series. So therefore, as you can see in this particular function, that you are getting some constant that is in form of a naught by b naught, because ultimately it's a integral constant, integer value, some integer value of s. So can we represent by a component or an element over the s plane which is represented in this form? The answer is yes. Okay. So as we can notice that it can be an inductor function. It can be an inductor or an inductive property. So which represents the L of S. So A naught by B naught is nothing but right now in this case it is a value of the inductance. So it is L of S plus the remaining function. So that means there is an inductance which I connected in series or in cascade with rest of the electrical network. That is, so rest of the electrical network is Z2 and I'm connected in Z1, as you can see in this particular slide. So the overall transfer function from this port, let's say if I'm assuming that there is a single port and representing by 1 1 dash. So from 1 1 dash, the whole impedance function is shown as this way. If it is so, if it is an impedance function, can we realize the equivalent admittance function of the network? Again, answer is yes, because admittance network is nothing but it's a complement or dual of the impedance function. So the dual of the capacitance, inductance is a capacitance, you know, right? So S of L is replaced by the value of S of C. Okay, so this S of C is connected in adjacent because now L of S, okay, that Z1S, which is right now Z1, which is a you can say inductive function element, is connected in series with Z2. So the dual of this will be capacitance across the shunt, across the network, and the dual of Z2 is Y2. So I can say that there is a capacitance across the Y2 of S, and from network 1 1 dash, now it looks as a admittance function. Is it the same? Yes, it's absolutely same and it satisfy the duality property, right? So that's how you can find a simpler solution whenever you want to execute a process, and the purpose of execution is that removal of a pole at the infinity. You wanted to remove that particular pole, okay, in such a way that you are the characteristic of the impedance function should be inherited, but the system can bring to a stable zone, right? Let us see the next analogy, that is the removal of a pole at origin. So in this case, what you will do, if there is a removal of pole at origin, so your original transfer function is the same, remember equation number 2. Now we are going to modify that equation number 2 in such a way that there is a k naught. K naught is again a scaling constant which is representing the ratio of a naught by b naught, remember. So this is replaced by, in the last function we have replaced it by k of s plus 1. But now in this case, what we are doing, we are keeping the denominator function in such a way that the we have, remember, it rearranged. Okay, so in such a way that it is going to represent as shown in this case. So it is k naught by s. Okay, it is k naught by s. The whole impedance function is transformed or rewritten in such a way, okay, so that our we can satisfy our objective. And what is our objective? We want to remove a pole from the origin. Okay, in such a way that the transfer function can be represented in, can be realizable, can represent in a stable zone. Okay, or can should have a stable transfer function. So we have rearranged, remodified the equation in such a way that we are writing it k naught, which is the ratio of a naught by v naught by s. So we keep the denominator s as a common, and then we are going to rewrite the equation in such a way that z1 of s is the cascade combination of the two, z1 of s into z2s. So remember, there is a difference in equation 2 when you modified equation z of s in terms of z1 and z2 as far as the condition 1 when we talk about removal of the pole at infinity, and the condition 2 when we talk about the removal of the pole at origin is concerned, right? So in this case, now what I am doing, because k naught by s is nothing but it is representing a capacitance value of is equal to 1 by cs, where cs is equal to 1 upon k naught. The value of c is equal to 1 upon k naught. So is represented in that way, and the rest of the function can be represented as z2, right? If it is the impedance function, can I work out a admittance function to satisfy the same criteria? Yes, that can be a dual function, can be admittance function, where your SC is going to replace by inductance value S of L, but now it will be connected across the shunt because it is an admittance function, and the Y of 2 is the dual of Z2. So in this way, you can also find out the equivalent admittance function. Yeah. Before move ahead, let us have an example and try to understand the things. Okay, so there is a impedance function is given, and its transfer function is equal to s square plus 7s plus 70 upon s of s plus 10. So you are asked to realize this transfer function in a simpler way, or to find out the elements, so that with the help of that amount of that type and the magnitude of elements, we can design a stable system. We can synthesize a stable network. Clear? So try to apply the partial fraction and find out your z of s in the fractional way. Okay, you can attempt the same thing in terms of admittance function as well. Okay, so I'm giving you some couple of minutes of time to attempt it, and then we will continue our discussion. So as you can oversee over here, what the approach is that you should open up the expansion. Like the numerator right now, it is already open. So open the denominator also. If you are going to open up the denominator, you are getting s square plus 10 of s. Now remember, you arrange it in such a way that you are moving from order low to high. That means from s raised to 0 to s raised to n. Clear? So if I am going to rearrange and divide that denominator by the numerator by the denominator, I'm sorry, and the denominator is actually 10 of s plus s square. You arrange in this way, and numerator you arrange 70 plus 7s plus s square. Now if you are going to do so, so the first divisor you will get 7 by s, okay, and the rest of the element. So if I am going to simplify, the given impedance function can be represented as 7 by s plus s square upon 10s plus s square, or I can simply write it 7 by s plus s by s plus 10. Okay, so there is a 0 at origin, there is a pole at minus 10 here, and that is the way, and the remaining component what you are getting your 1 by 7 value of capacitance. So it is 1 by 7 of farad, right? So that's how you can rearrange. Clear? Okay. So this is z of s, and if you are going to represent this things, okay, that is how much you are getting. So you are getting 1 ohm inverse, the as far as the remaining function is concerned, okay, because remember this is the impedance function in series, and that is the admittance function. So remember, you can have your this admittance function in this way, s upon s plus 10. Okay, then what you will need to do, that you have to multiply by and divide by s minus 10 upon s minus 10. So it will be a more clumsy process. So here is a trick you have. okay, or a check you can say. You know that admittance is a dual of impedance. So can I write impedance function as an admittance function and apply across the shunt? Yes, because in this case I am getting Z1 plus Z2. So the Z2 I have to ultimately add to the Z1. Okay. Now this Z2, either I can write this simplification, simplified elements. I can find out the value of simplified elements from this remaining impedance function Z2. Okay, in terms of impedance, or I can do it the same thing in terms of admittance. So in impedance, there is an approach that you either you multiply and divide that function s upon s plus 10 by s minus 10 upon s minus 10. Okay, so that it will retain the same characteristic. Or the second approach is that you convert into the admittance function. So your admittance y2 is equal to s plus 10 by s, or in other words, it is 1 plus 10 by s. So what is the value of admittance you are getting? You are getting 1 ohm inverse or 1 mho, okay, in parallel, because remember it's an admittance function, right? In parallel, so in admittance function, parallel is the additive, okay, parallel components are additive. So it is 10 by s, so that means 1 by 10 Henry, okay, understood? Okay, so in admittance, your inductance is actually 1 by s component, and your capacitance is multiplication of s component. In case of impedance function, inductance is a multiplication s component and capacitance is 1 by s component, right? So you are getting 1 ohm inverse in parallel with 1 by 10 Henry, right? Is it? So I am getting Z1 in series with Y2, or I will say that I am getting Z1, okay, in series with 1 upon Y2, which is equal to Z2. Done. So that way you can find out the individual value of elements, and this transfer function of these magnitude will have a stable system. Okay. So I hope that the purpose is clear to you. Okay. So let us proceed for the continuation of the your basic philosophy of the synthesis. Now here our objective is to remove a pole at infinity. That is something we have been discussed. Okay, both in terms of impedance function and admittance function, and we also conclude the removal of a pole at the origin, that we also discussed in terms of impedance and admittance function. Right. Now let us continue our discussion. The removal of a complex imaginary poles. So complex imaginary poles means there is a pole. Let's say if it is existed s plus j omega, because omega is a frequency domain. So for our understanding, let me rather than omega, because which is a more generic term, here I am writing omega 1. Okay, some value over the frequency plane. Okay, omega 1, some a particular frequency. So what exactly you want? Actually, the complex conjugate is the sum and negative. Over the same difference, there is a sum and difference of s. So it is s plus minus j omega is a complex conjugate pair of the poles. Okay. So this is what you are getting, or in other words, s square plus omega 1 square. So if you are getting in this form, like represented in this equation, z of s is defined as some polynomial in numerator and some polynomial in denominator multiplied by 1 upon s square plus omega 1 square. If you are finding this, and if you apply the partial fraction over this, you know that you can get the partial fraction value twice of k1s upon s square plus omega square and the remaining component. So that plus the remaining component again we are assuming as Z2, rest of the impedance function. And this is indication twice of k1s by s square plus omega 1 square is an indication that this transfer function, this impedance function has a complex imaginary pole. Okay. Now if you want to remove this from the original transfer function. So how to bring this particular original transfer function? So remember, if you are going to take a combination of a LC network, a parallelly tuned LC network, okay, there is an inductance, okay, which is across the capacitance. So in that case, how what a kind of component you will get? Okay, that is the comparison as S by C in the numerator and in the denominator S square plus 1 by LC. So now you see omega 1 square can be comparable with is equal to 1 by LC, whereas omega value of omega 1 is equal to 1 upon root over of LC, and value of K1 is equal to twice of K1 in fact is equal to 1 by C. So therefore the value of C is equal to 1 by 2k1. Now whereas k is a constant. So if you know the value of k, you can get the value of s, right? So in this case, you know that if the value of C is equal to 1 by 2k1, so from LC is equal to I'm sorry, that omega 1 is equal to 1 upon root over LC. So you can substitute the value of C and you can get the value of L, that is twice k1 upon omega 1 square. Remember it. Okay. So no need to crack, but you can find it all from this component. Okay. So the value of C and L can be worked it out in terms of the natural frequency and the value of constant k1. So value of C you are getting is 1 by twice k1 and value of L you are getting twice k1 upon omega 1 square. So you see that from here you can verify that omega 1 square is equal to 1 upon LC, right? So this parallelly LC tuning network is a component of Z1. Okay, so Z1 is replaced by a parallelly tuned LC network where the value of L is equal to twice k1 upon omega 1 square and C is equal to 1 upon twice k1 and the rest of component is Z2. So in this case, can I work out my admittance function, which is the dual of impedance function? If at all some stage it is easier or it is wise enough to represent that equivalent transfer function in terms of admittance function, answer is yes. So the parallel LC tuning network in impedance function, okay, can be equally or dual replaced by a duality property by applying the duality property, and it says that you have to replace it by the equivalent value of a series LC network where the value of L is replaced by the C dash and value of C is replaced by the L dash. Remember here L dash and C dash is not the first derivative component. It is something different than that of L and C. So for your understanding, okay, with the help of duality, if you refer the duality property what we discussed in module number 1, you can get those points. If you have any doubt. So here the value of your C is going to C dash is going to replace by 1 by L 1. Okay. So and L and whereas the value of L dash is going to replace by the 1 by C. So you are now getting twice of K1 by omega square, that is the value of capacitance, and 1 by 2K1 that is the value of inductance. So this value you are going to replace and apply this series tuning network of the LC combination as an admittance function, and the rest of the component is Y2, which is you are getting from 1 by Z2. Okay. So that's how we can represent the removal of remove the complex conjugate pole if at all necessary to simplify or to realize your transfer function. The number 4, what if you are sometimes required to remove a constant? So remember, constant is a value which is free from frequency. So at some frequency, now from where you are getting, so you are getting from that operating frequency, like we discussed in the last function. If your system is operating at omega 1, so remember in this function our real value of your Hurwitz polynomial should be always greater than or equal to 0. So you are getting vertical y plane, positive y axis, and in x axis you are getting the frequency. The frequency is the instantaneous value of frequency, and in that case the frequency over which this network is given network is operating, let us assume that frequency is omega 1. It can be any numeric value. Okay, so here I am assuming that your omega 1 is equal to nothing but it is a 50 hertz. Okay, and in that case you can get the value of constant k when the real value component is at the minimum level. Okay, is at the lowest level. Fine, because in that case you are getting the value of the resonant frequency of the inductance and capacitance will crosses each other. Okay, that we have seen from the series resonance property, right? That we can see or verify from the series resonance property, right? So in that case, if you see that is the value of k you are supposed to getting from here. So that k is nothing but is right now z1 and the rest of component is your z2. So there is a constant. So obviously which particular element is representing by a frequency dependent independent term, that is the resistance, because resistance is actually frequency independent element. So this k is nothing but this is the value of resistance you are getting, which is applied in the series. So value of z1 for such network is equal to nothing but it is the equal value of resistance, which is represented by the k or amount of ohm, and the rest of the network is Z2 as represented in the one port network in this particular figure. If this is the impedance function, can I get to my admittance function? Yes, that can be value of some value of k dash, where you can assume that k dash is nothing but it is equal to 1 by k. So value of k dash, which is of equal of 1 by k, can be bring across the admittance function where y2 is equal to 1 by z2. So you can simplify any network by removing a pole either at the infinity or at the origin. okay, or a complex conjugate pole, or a constant, okay, in such a way that your transfer function should be uh, perfectly stable and therefore can be realizable. It satisfies the condition of causality. Okay, so with this, I am going to end up the today's lecture, and when we will join the next lecture, the next series of this lecture, second lecture, we will start our discussion with the LC emittance function. Okay, because that combination gives you a lossless network. Ideally, it gives you lossless network, because if a network is a combination of inductance and a capacitance, and if there is no resistance, so theoretically it is assumed that there is a no loss. That means the network is a lossless network. Though RC and RL network, that we will also discuss in the in continuation of this series of lecture series of this module, but that represents some kind of losses, and which is a real scenario one. Okay, so first we will discuss the LC network, and the example of these kind of LC networks are like the transmission lines. I have told you, distribution lines. Okay, many kind of transmission medias which is used to cable transmission media, which is used to carry the information from one node to another, from the transmitter to receiver and vice versa. Coaxial cables, okay, shielded twisted pair, unshielded twisted pair. These are the example of nothing but it is a ideal LC network. Okay, with this, thank you, and we will meet in the next lecture.